And oh, by the way, if you want to start pointing fingers, let's go there. Do you think that we have all forgotten about the constant attacks and threats that you've made against this president and his supporters over the last 4 years, which have stirred up violence? We haven't. Here's a few.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
Biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Who caused the violence? Seeing those direct messages of hate and a push for violence against our president and his supporters over the last 4 years is the true definition of hypocrisy, especially while we watch these same people this week spew their outrage about what happened in our nation's capital. It absolutely disgusts me to my core. You hypocrites out there are crying your crocodile tears for what took place on Wednesday. Yet where in the hell were you the last year, as thousands of Americans were being terrorized in their own communities by violent thugs and rioters, as their businesses and homes were being damaged or destroyed, while brave law enforcement officers and civilians were being spit on, kicked, beaten, and even killed? No, you were too busy pandering, joining in with the defund police movement, calling for the violent riots. What'd you call them? Mostly peaceful. And you said that their movement was just and understandable. We remember those statements you made. We will never forget them. But now, when millions of patriots descend on our house, not yours, elected leaders, and you were fearing for your lives, you quickly changed your tune about protests and violence, didn't you? And while I will never, ever condone violence on this program, we will condemn it because there is no place for it in our civilized nation. I do want to point something out, and that is your hypocrisy. You members of Congress and members of the corporate media, you know who you are. You are the ones with blood on your hands. And not just the blood that was shed and the lives lost this week, but the countless lives that were destroyed and lost in 2020. And now today, both sides of the aisle, with the few exceptions on the right, are now screaming for the president to resign or be impeached. I would totally expect this from the Democrats. But now you have Republicans joining in with this nonsense. Really? Where's your backbone? Where's your grit? I'm speaking to you, Romney, McConnell, Graham, the list goes on. This president has done something that you lifelong globalist politicians have long forgotten to do. He puts us first. His policies put America first. And for the past 4 years, you've remained in power only because you've been clinging to his coattails. Well, guess what? I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. The millions of Americans who've supported this president won't forget your actions. And as far as the members of the GOP now so worried about trying to save or reconstruct your party, how dare you? Don't you get it yet? We don't care about your damn party. The two-party system is broken. That's why Donald J. Trump was elected. How quickly you forget. So while you're scrambling, Rand Paul and others, to rebuild the GOP, remember this. We had a president who remembered his duty, which is to us, we the people, and not to the Republican Party. And if you think you'll ever have a chance of reclaiming the House in 2022, the Senate, or the presidency in 24, you best damn well remember, we come first. It's people over party. And as you learn while serving in the armed forces as I did, it's supposed to be service before self. And that's going to do it for tonight's show.